Hi, my name is Olivia. I am one of the Writing Center tutors at the CCSU Writing Center, and today I'm going to do a quick workshop on how to outline for your assignments. Here we have a really basic overview of what your outline could look like. First, we have the introduction. Here's where you set up your ideas more broadly to prepare your reader for the paper. Nothing too specific. Maybe you can provide some background context or begin with an interesting hook, such as a fact, a statistic, a human interest story, something along those lines. You would also discuss the topic you are going to talk about more generally and mention the subtopics you will be using to support your claim. You can have a thesis statement or research question towards the end of this paragraph to show the main point of your paper. A research question is a question that you're going to be using your sources to answer, and you hope to come up with an answer by the end of your paper or prove your argument. The thesis statement is more like, this is the answer or argument I'm making, and I'll use this paper to show you why this is the answer and why my argument is justified. Next, we have the body sections. This is where all of your research and analysis goes. It does not have to be split up into a typical 3 main body paragraph. Your paper can consist of many body paragraphs as long as each paragraph focuses on a specific subtopic and the evidence that supports that claim. Lastly, we have the conclusion, and it answers 2 questions. What should we have learned from reading the paper, and why is this important? Why is the topic important? It's similar to the introduction, but now your reader has read through all of the body paragraphs, so they should be coming away with a lesson. Here we are applying that outline to a specific example. So in this case, the global warming example. And this is how we would outline the introduction if we were writing a paper about global warming. So first, we would briefly introduce the subject of the assignment, global warming, and we could, as I mentioned, start the paper in a few different ways, with a hook, maybe a statistic, the human interest story, the issue of global warming in general. And then the second thing that we would mention in the introduction would be the general introduction to the subtopics we are going to use. So in our case, the 3 subtopics we are going to use to support our claim are the big corporations' influences, littering and landfills in the fashion industry. After all of that would come our thesis or our claim, and our thesis for this example is that man-made pollution has a negative impact on global warming. Here's the example of how we would outline our body sections using the global warming example. So body section 1, our topic sentence would introduce the topic we are focusing on in this section. And in this case, our topic sentence is revolving around big corporations. So our example is that big corporations have been the main source of pollution that causes global warming. So next, we would want to support that topic sentence with the evidence, the quotations or paraphrases from the sources we are using to support that claim. So our example here is a quotation from Trevor's. It is, what chance does humanity have in preserving our common shared biosphere when democratically elected governments are besieged by corporations and financial institutions that require the taxpayers' money to keep the credit flowing and the economy growing? So you can see that we cited that there. That is a direct quotation. And the next step would be to analyze, to defend that claim, the reason for including that information, and how it ties back in with the topic and argument. So our example to defend that previous quotation that we just mentioned is, in recent years, many politicians have counted on big corporations to help fund their campaigns. To return the favor, these same politicians have failed to pass legislation to help counter the effects of global warming and instead have protected these corporations that they are partnered with. So you can use this type of breakdown in your own outlining process, how we have set it up here. You can write down the topic sentence and then each piece of evidence or quote that you're going to use to support that topic sentence. You can then write, a few lines of analysis after each piece of evidence, and then eventually, tie all of those together into one paragraph. And then you would repeat for as many body sections as necessary. Lastly, we have our example tied to the conclusion. So, what should we have learned from this paper about global warming? The first thing that we could do is reiterate the thesis statement and hook. So, our example for this is the detrimental impact of large corporations, the wasteful nature of the fashion industry, and the millions of pounds of garbage not properly disposed of all heavily impact the effects of global warming. So we tied in all of the subtopics that we talked about to the thesis statement that we made. If you used a hook in your introduction, now is a good time to bring that back to really tie everything together. And then the last thing that you could talk about within your conclusion is why this is all important. Why is that topic important? So, our example tied to global warming and man made impact is scientists have determined that if humans do not take accountability for their role in global warming, Earth will become uninhabitable within the next 25 years. So, here we tied the topic of global warming to the importance of, we need an Earth to live on. If we do not take accountability, Earth will become uninhabitable. So, reverse outlining is another strategy that you can use to outline. This process is a little bit different than traditional outlining because you would actually use it after you've written your paper or after you've written a few paragraphs. Basically, it's a process where you take away all of the supporting writing and you're left with the main points of the specific section you're looking at or the entire paper as a whole. It provides you with a bullet point view of your paper structure because you're looking at the main points of the paper you wrote. And this could be really helpful because it can determine if your paper meets its goal. You can discover places to expand on or even edit out if you feel like you're rambling on or if there's places where you're getting off topic. And you can also see where readers might be tripped up by your organization or the structure of your paper. And how you would use reverse outlining is by using the what and how strategy. The first thing you would do is identify a section that you want to look at and figure out what the main idea of that section is. Next, you would identify how you support that idea, whether that be by quotes or the explanations or different claims. And an example of that, if we look at this bottom example right here, so the main idea of this section, is that teachers complain that their students lack punctuation and motion in their writing. So that is the main claim of this paragraph, of this section. And how that claim is supported is through statements of the problem or claims. So different examples, different quotes, things like that. So you would identify how you support the claim within that specific section. That is basically it. If you have any further questions about anything that I've talked about, if you have any questions about outlining, feel free to schedule an appointment with us at the Writing Center or reach out via email or phone. I've listed our Writing Center's phone number below, as well as a link to our website where you would find the link to create an appointment. And lastly, I've listed the 3 contact information for our director and then our 2 coordinators. Thank you.